Hi, welcome to Monday Musings,
All right.
live with Kelly Bonsall here, with my dear friend Uma Joy.
Hello.
And yes, we are excited to celebrate just a day early, the solstice. Um, and we have a lot of thoughts about what that means. So, Uma,
You
how
know,
are you doing this
I'm
evening?
I'm doing great. Solstice is a really special time for me for a number of reasons, and for whether we're winter or summer, it's something for all of us that not all of us, but many of us really think and connect with it. And there's a special deal with it for me in that 34 years ago, I was in labor, ready to have my son, who was born 1:37 in the morning on solstice. And though it changes sometimes on the 20th, 21st, 22nd, he was born on the 21st, which is our solstice this year. And so it as he grew, as he grew up, initially there were always the birthday parties, but as he got older, he really connected with the solstice. And even in the latter years of high school, it was like, no, I want to have a solstice party. I don't want to have a birthday party. And so we would bring ritual in, and having that a part of introducing a number of his peer group to different rituals for solstice. And years later, one of them came to me and said, Uma, that's still one of the best memories I have growing up. They were seniors in high school, and it really touched him. And I just like, oh my goodness. See, sometimes you never know what's gonna come out of things.
Yes.
Um, so here we are, ready to celebrate the solstice again, and going into the shortest day for here in the northern hemisphere, the longest night. Yes, it's considered tomorrow night is the longest night, but that time of reflection, and it's a really beautiful time.
Yeah. Yeah. I because we've been doing our 21 daily practices leading us into the energy of the solstice. There's it's such an interesting, like, so there's the solstice. To me, it's like this turn, right? Like, it's been getting darker and darker and darker. And while it is the longest night, it also represents like the first day, right? That's going to be the light, coming back, and the days getting longer and longer. And but part of me is like, I'm not ready for the days to get longer yet. Like, I still have more wintering. I mean, it is the beginning of winter, but just like deepening into that I want to do. And I think about how we have such a different energy when we are in that, like, wintering phase. And we were mentioning before, you talk about how you put your gardens to bed for the winter, and how that allows for everything to just generate and generate, like, energy, like inner, I'm not a biologist. I don't understand exactly what's happening in the plant world, but I know that it's not nothing. It's not just like completely nothing.
Yeah,
All right, I think. Is
yeah.
that true?
Well,
Okay.
I don't think it goes completely dormant. I think there's all kinds of magic that is happening, and I think of it as, like the compost piles, and we don't see what's happening with all these organisms, and the organic matter, that the bugs are doing their work. And yeah, maybe in some way some of it slows down. I mean, I know here the ground freezes. How far down does it freeze? Well, that varies in different places, but there's still magic that is happening. In my mind, how can there not be? Because look at what comes back.
Yes. Yes.
It's not just, okay, everything's dead for the winter and waiting for this magic button. It's doing its work. That's
Right.
what I think.
I love, and I mean, just the idea of this, the magic happening in the slowing down. And I think that relates so much to what we've been talking about, is like, how can we slow down? How can we like not let the busyness overwhelm us? How can we have that supportive creative practice that allows us to sort of like just be and reflect and, start to kind of like, you know, I want to use the word generate, but like very gently, generating like what is going to come through, as the days get longer and the light comes back. And yeah, and I want to say that I'm like allowing myself to do that. And I'm not as much as I would like. I wish that my life allowed me to just like truly like just embody and live this vision that I have of what this time could be potentially for reflection and for deepening. But I am catching myself more this year than I think previously, where I feel the busyness and I ask myself, do I really have to do this? Like, is
Mhm.
this something I want to do? And um, not just letting it kind of take me into
Right.
like take control over everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and that too, Kelly, it's like the I wish my life did. It's like your life is so beautiful I mean, it's full. And you've got these beautiful children that are a high priority. And so, we weave in where we can.
Yes.
And when the kids grow up, trust me, we sometimes think back, it's like, oh, I wish I was back in those days. And so you make, the fullness of each of these moments and taking those, in my mind, taking those gems of moments to also, a little bit of sharing with them growing up that this is
Yeah.
what it can be.
Yes.
And so it's not making you wrong, but I just, it's like we are where we are.
Yeah.
And
And I
yeah,
love how you shared about your son's birthday because I think that's a perfect example of like honoring this in such a sacred way. I mean, his birth and bringing in the friends that he wants to celebrate with and making it, teaching them and yes. And that's what I mean though. I mean, it's not finding like this like alone time like I want to go be in a temple by myself. It is like not getting caught up in what kind of the world that we live in expects to be happening. I mean, I enjoy a lot of that. I did some shopping today for some little stocking stuffers, and it was so fun to imagine like how excited everyone's. I do love that. I love giving, um, but it's just that balance. It's finding that
yes,
balance.
yeah,
Um, And so, kind of moving from that into what we were talking about, we were talking about last night, just you and I, and just the reflection. And this has happened in multiple circles and spaces and meetings that I've been in, is being asked, like, let's reflect on what, we really are proud of this year. What were some hardships? What do we want to see moving forward? And I don't think I usually take the time to do that, and I think that
no,
yeah, I think that this 21 days too of doing the solstice practice has really shown me how much you and I have like the energy that has been created through creative musings and how it feels so natural and it's work and it's like it's who we are and I hear our voices like authentically in everything that we have created and I'm so proud of that and I'm so proud of that wouldn't just have flowed or happened even though it wasn't like la magic wand and there it is but without this whole year of us doing so many different things and just and talking and being in conversation. I mean, this live came from us having conversation on Monday nights to figure out what's the next thing we're going to do and so beautiful. It's such a
yeah.
blessing.
Yeah, it is. And that's, all times are times for gratitude, and, feeling that deep grateful state. And it has been an amazing journey this year. Um, and it's been a lovely journey to share together. And it's not always been the ups and the easy. It flows. I'm so grateful it flows the way it does between us, and that we also hold that space when we come together, that life is still happening, and we can be individually in the midst of the difficulties, what feels like chaos, what feels like holy cow, and we hold that space. We bring it back to how do we maneuver through it or work through it, because there's generally something that we have been doing in our practice, our creative practice, whether it's in creative musings or our own personal work, whatever, that is holding additional space for us to work through it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
with it this year. And,
Yep.
and the other thing I was going to say about that, and I lost it for a second, before our meeting tonight here, at dinner, my son, my granddaughter, and I, we generally do a blessing before our meals. And, the reflection that every moment before that moment is what brought us to that moment. And yeah, some of those times in the reflections, some of those times are tough. And some of them are high as can be and amazing. And to connect with that gratitude for both. It's
Yeah.
not this or that, it's the equal sign, this and that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, I think why it's so important to reflect, whether it's however many times throughout the year, but
Right.
is because when you're in the midst of it, whether you're in the midst of building something and it's happening, or you're in the midst of like something that feels really hard, you don't often see the growth that's happening, and you think like, I want to be here, like I want to be over this, I want to be past this, or I want to be to this like peak that we're climbing to, like like and and then it doesn't ever happen like that. I mean, at least not for me. It's not like one day you're here and then the next day you're here, you know? And then when you're here and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, look at everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Um, and I hear like in the way that we communicate, and I mean, you have brought wisdom and, you know, just such a beautiful voice to what we're doing from the beginning. And I have like learned so much from you, Uma. And I hear myself now, like in conversations that have nothing to do with creativity, have nothing to do with this, just using language and understanding it in a way that like I definitely did not a year ago.
Mhm.
And I'm like grateful to you for that. I'm grateful and proud of myself for like doing the work, like going through these creative practices and showing up for whatever the universe is putting in front of me, that's like, oh, this might be a thing that you want to try and see how it
Mhm.
works.
Yeah.
And we were saying the other night that what we're doing with creative musings, while we feel called to bring this out into the world and to serve our beloveds, is such an opportunity for us to stay on our path, and not the path that's just going straight forward. I mean, take those turns and climb those hills, and go into those caves and everything, and we find readings we wouldn't have otherwise read, and we come up with creative design things that like just we wouldn't have done otherwise. And I know that my practice is more consistent because of what we're offering.
Mhm.
And I was saying last night, like it's just such a gift, and I'm so grateful to do this work, and I'm learning so much through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a joy to to have this. First of all, I want to acknowledge and I say thank you, and I heard you. And it the reflection that I can go back, more than just this year, and ever since meeting Shiloh, our intentional creativity teacher, mentor, friend, and watching that path. And then we've used so much of what has come from that and the rest of our lives that a lot of it comes out through creative musings. And it gives us, when we teach, there's two things that show up for me for teaching in general. So we generally teach what we need to learn. And when we are teaching, or we have this commitment that I have to show up, then I have to show up. And we've talked about this before. It's like, well, why can't we make that commitment to ourselves? I said I was going to get up and meditate every morning. Oh, that is for some ridiculous reason easier to not show up than if I say to my friend or whomever that, great, I'll meet you at 7 o'clock and we'll sit and meditate. I'm going to be there. And so when teaching or being with our beloveds, well, I have to show up. And so I like that accountability. And each time it helps me to learn more that, what, it's worth being accountable to myself too.
Yeah.
In fact, isn't that more important?
Yes.
But that's a debate for another.
Yes. It's true. Well, I mean, I kind of want to go there a little bit because I'm having a thought that is different than, because we've talked about this before, like how can I show up for myself, just for myself? And I don't even know if I can articulate this right because I'm just like having it, but maybe it's like bringing in more accountability. Maybe it's bringing in more connection with our beloveds or each other or people in our circle. And that's the thing, that maybe it's the connection that is like the mover to like get us to do the meditation, or like I said, I'm just thinking about it. And I don't mean that we have to have someone else. We should show up just for ourselves just because it's for ourselves. But maybe part of the key to that is, that connection piece.
Well, I think it is, and I think that also helps. It's kind of like developing the muscle, and it's like in so many different circles and areas of life, people have accountability partners. You check in daily or weekly. This is what I'm going to do today, because that support is helpful.
Yes.
And not everybody needs that. There are some people that are really, okay, here's what I'm going to get done, and I do it. And we talk about ways that, if I say I'm going to do something, then if I see that I'm not going to, it's time to renegotiate with myself. Well, if I'm not going to do it at 2 o'clock this afternoon and, come into the studio and paint or go sit and meditate or whatever it is that I say that I'm going to do, just like if I wasn't going to show up and have a cup of tea with you that I had already connected with, then I would renegotiate. Kelly, I can't show up. Can we do this tomorrow at 2 o'clock? So using that format, okay, I'm not showing up for myself at 2 o'clock today. Renegotiate right now. When are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And that helps.
It does
But
help.
it's, the collective feel and the energy, and, like we, in our community, we tug on the red thread. I need some help and support. That collective energy of the energetic field is there for us. And so to show up for a class and teach the beloveds and being there for them, and that reciprocal energy back and forth,
Yeah.
it's incredibly valuable.
Right. It is. It is. And it kind of leads me, and this wasn't like an intentional like lead in, but it could have been and it should have been. But that we have created, I have felt, and I've said this in some of the prompt videos for 21 daily practices, the circle and the connection of beloveds who
Yeah.
have been participating, and wanting that to continue, and wanting to continue to hold that space and feel that connection. And um, for those of you watching, like and I are working on, how our Facebook page for now is going to be a space to continue sharing and having conversation, and other, what are some, we've been talking about other formats, because we really want to be able to continue to provide that accountability. If you're somebody who hadn't done 21 practices in a row before, or maybe you didn't do all of them but you did more than you usually do, and you felt something shifting and want that to continue, having a place where you can go and check in and see what's going on, and maybe there's a prompt, or you can look at something that's been there before, or just see what other people are making, is huge. In my life, like, changed dramatically when I took a consistent creative practice seriously.
Yeah.
And I still can't do it by myself. I still don't think, if I was like, I'm gonna go live in the woods, and I mean, this sounds so dreamy, and for a year, and I'm just gonna create, like, I'm at this moment in my life, I'm not sure what would happen,
Hmm.
because that connection and that showing up is, and I'm like an introverted person, and I always just feel, I really do love to be alone, and I just gain so much energy from that. But it's different. It's like, it's a connection that's different than going out and seeing people. I can't even explain it, but I'm having this big, like, wow, like, I hear all the time, and it's been coming through a lot this year, about like, connection is so important, and connection this and connection that. And I often kind of like tune it out, because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I need connection. I really am good, just me. And I think I've been misinterpreting what connection means.
Hmm. Well, again, it's to me, it's that equal sign.
Yeah.
Well, yes, by all means, I need my alone time. And if nothing else, this, you know, these times that we've been through, and I know we kind of have gone away from talking too much about the pandemic, but there's been a lot of alone time for many of us. And it has also shown the need for connection on
Hmm.
many levels.
Yeah.
And as much as many of us have had enough of being on the screen and technology and having our connection to this, I'm so grateful that we have had this because it's gotten many of us through.
Yeah.
And I can reach out, and I might not touch you in the physical form, but I can reach out and I can feel
Right. Right.
you. And
Yes.
so, and on the other hand, it's like, yes, when this came up a year and a half ago, and I feel like COVID said, I need to be with my family. And so here I am.
Yeah.
Whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So we are a little over our time that we usually say we're going to stick to. So I just want to invite anyone watching this to continue to stay connected with us. And we're going to continue to show up for all the reasons that we've explained, for ourselves, and what, is feels like a calling that really feeds us to continue to grow and blossom. And for you to, give you, that practice to help to shape and transform and change and move and all those things. And I invite you to do some reflecting of your own on, what has happened for you this year? What has shifted? What has moved? I mean, what maybe has felt a little bit hard, or really, really hard? And is there something that you can plant from that that will help something new grow, you know, and as the light comes back? Because it's not all celebration. And if we had more time, we could get into a lot of the the
Yes.
stuff that was hard. But again, you know, I've learned a lot through that too, and continuing
Yeah.
to learn from that. So I have to say that I'm grateful with like a little bad taste in my mouth saying that sort of. I mean, but I am grateful for all of it. And then the sweet is definitely more
Yeah.
prevalent in that word gratitude. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I just like to invite again those of you that watch this, whether you're here now or you catch it later, even if it's for just a moment, even if it's as simple as lighting a candle
Mm.
and just open to the possibility. If things don't just start coming into your mind, if things you're grateful for, open to the possibility that those things that have been tough are also bringing something good. I'm not saying they were meant to be. I'm not saying you created bad things, but maybe there is something that will open up, like Kelly just said, in terms of, something that is arising that is ready to come forward. So
Yeah.
um, we're still doing creative musings on Thursday nights. We'll post the link below the video, and we're going to do it, this Thursday and next. So it's in the midst of the holidays, and we're still going to be showing up. Kelly, I think, has a couple of family plans in there, but one or both of us will be here on Thursday nights, and would love to have you join us. And I thank you, Kelly. Have a lovely week. If I don't talk to you before
Yes.
the holidays
Yes.
continue,
Yes.
love, and we'll see the rest of you hopefully next Monday night, Monday Night Live, Creative Musings with Uma Joy and Kelly Wanzel.
Woohoo. All right.
All
Love
right.
to all. Mwah.
Yeah.